Welcome to I Am Me podcast. I'm your host, Liz Bachman, and on this podcast, I want to celebrate you for being you. I'm super excited to sit down with my guests each week and talk about their journey, their experiences, and where they came from. So without further ado, let's dive into this week's episode.
Hey everybody, welcome back to I Am Me podcast. Today I get to sit down and talk with Andres Perez, aka Sobrino. He is a guy, an actor / rapper musician that I got to work with about 3 or 4 months ago on an acting project. He actually played a murderer and I got to play his victim. So hey. But yeah, we're going to sit down and talk to him today about his career and what he's doing, what he's up to, and kind of how he got into this. So, how you doing, Andres?
I am doing phenomenal. Thank you for having me on this podcast. I am super blessed to get to talk to you again. It's great seeing you. You look great, as always.
Thank you. Back at you.
Thank you.
Okay, so diving right in. Where did all this kind of start for you? Like, did acting come first? Did music come first? And kind of like what peaked that? Did it come earlier in life? Or is this something, you're 29, we just talked about that. So is this something that has come up, later in your 20s? Just kind of, I don't know any of your backstory, so I'm really curious to see where all this kind of came from for you.
Yeah. So I started all the arts started in 3rd grade. I started with poetry, actually.
Okay.
So
that's a nice so poetry is a great like segue into music.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So like I started doing poetry in 3rd grade. I come from an immigrant household.
Okay.
And like in an immigrant household, it's like school, business, and art isn't really a career. So like when I was like writing, I would just do it like on the DL.
So you didn't even feel like you could share that with your family.
Exactly. I just knew they wouldn't really understand.
So what's interesting to me about that is I don't come from an immigrant household, but like the arts was not something that was really, it was like a hobby but not a career option. But I definitely felt comfortable sharing it with my family. So that's interesting that you felt like you kind of had to keep that on the down low. I take it that's not still happening, but how long until you felt like you could share that part of yourself with your family?
Probably not until like I was like an adult.
Wow.
Like probably like early 20s, 18, 19.
So poetry in the 3rd grade, how is that going for you? Like I'm very curious about, was little Andres like hiding away in his room writing poetry, or like I don't know. I think of my like version. I don't know. I feel like I'd be all like angsty, like bang over the eye or something. But I doubt that was your experience.
So I thought growing up, I would listen to like Hispanic music. So I grew up like listening to like Hispanic music, Joe Arroyo, Celia Cruz, Shakira, Mark Anthony. But then also at the same time, like I was born in Atlanta and like I'm from here. So like the culture, there's always been hip hop around me. So like I just couldn't escape. Like I grew up with those sounds. So the mixture of like the pop, Michael Jackson, and then like the Hispanic music in the house, and then hip hop all on around me in general, kind of shaped me into like wanting to make music that kind of catered to one genre. So kind of so essentially like Sobrino makes music that's like hip hop with like Spanish.
That's a really cool take on it.
So
I always like when people can take their background and they can, like, they add that to your art, because your art is you. And when you really bring yourself to your art, I mean, I think that's what makes people stand out for sure.
Right.
So music. So when did you start making that shift from poetry to music?
I would say the very first time I ever like did like a mixtape was in Ninth grade.
Did you, okay, when you say a mixtape, were you actually like performing, singing the music, or were you like, you just like put a mixtape together?
like I got instrumentals on YouTube, and I recorded like lyrics like on the mic that you have on right now, like with your little headphones.
Oh,
I
okay.
recorded my vocals into a software and kind of mixed it, and that
That's really cool.
track.
I love it though. Like, I mean, one thing about today is like you can just do that stuff. You can, piece it all together. Um, what? Okay, so it sounds like music came first before acting. Is
For,
that okay?
for sure.
I didn't know we had that in common. Music came for me first when I was like 15, 16, and then I moved into acting later. But this is not about me. So when did acting like start coming into the picture?
So I did modeling in college. There was like a
Okay.
there was like a college group, I guess,
Okay.
and that's what like kind of sparked kind of me getting booked for like print work, and then that led to me landing like commercial gigs.
Okay.
Start like to act in commercial.
Hell yeah. Okay. So that's something I should have mentioned at the beginning. I didn't ask you that, but looking at your Instagram and your pretty face, I was going to ask you if you're a model also. For people who can't see Andres, he has a very pretty face. But he doesn't go around acting like it. So, that's a good thing.
Thank
That
you.
actually makes you nice to talk to. Humility. So I'm so curious. So you said there's a modeling group in college.
Yes. So I went to Georgia State. It was called Panthers Allure.
Okay.
And like the person that like led or started the group was a sign model. So he like basically taught all of us like how to walk, how to like different poses, how to feel comfortable in front of a camera, how to work with other people like that are in the shots too, and how to talk to the photographers and what to look for.
That's a cool experience. I love too, like when people, when they have something that they're passionate about and then they turn around and like want to share it. Like that's something I love about Atlanta, I would say, is artists really tend to have, for the most part, this attitude of wanting to turn around and help somebody up the ladder. So that's cool. I did not have any modeling groups. Maybe I did at college, but they weren't looking for me. So I was like,
They're lost.
Acting. You started getting commercial gigs. When did that happen? So you're 29 now. I'm trying to get your timeline together. So you're 29 now, and when did that, like the modeling to transitioning into acting happen?
So that was when I got my first commercial gig.
Okay. When was that?
So it took me 5 years to graduate college.
Me too.
Because my sophomore year, I went hard in the paint and I lost my Hope scholarship. So like I had to retake like a lot of the classes.
Yeah. That did not happen to me. Which no judgments. I changed my major like 3 times. So
here it is.
yeah.
So it took me 5 years to graduate. I was about 22, 23 when I first got like my first commercial gig.
What was it?
Rooms to Go.
I'm gonna go back and try and find your Rooms to Go commercial. What were you doing? What was your commercial?
I was kind of telling people about. I was like in a house.
Okay.
Like telling people to shop at Rooms to Go because you can get
something. I feel like that's most Rooms to Go commercials.
Yeah.
Or most, not just Rooms to Go, like furniture commercials. Like there's someone standing there and they're just like, hey, like buy this, buy that. That's really cool though. That's super exciting experience. I love that for you. Would you say right now, because I feel like a lot of times artists are like actors are they wear many hats, and I think that's just also part of acting. Like acting is you also have these other skills, and then it also can help you with roles. So you kind of have this background of music, modeling, and now you're also acting. Do you feel like you lean towards anything in particular?
In regards to like,
Like
and
what you're putting your energy or your time into? Or for me, I feel like there's different seasons with it, with each like music and acting. For me, is kind of what I go back and forth between.
I it's a really good question, by the way. It's a really good question.
Well, we only have so much energy, and
Yeah.
and time within the day. And when you're up and coming in this industry, you don't have a team of people doing all this stuff for you. Like it's you. Um, so I'm always curious, like kind of what other people's process is, because I know mine.
So I would say I think because acting is I feel like there's a lot of gatekeepers in acting,
I'd agree with that.
which I don't really agree with. I don't like it because I've seen to where there's people that are way more talented and more qualified for a specific role and they don't get it because the gatekeeper doesn't personally like them as much. And I
Yeah.
don't think that's fair. Life isn't fair, but like in regards to like I'm just looking at it from an artistic standpoint. Like if you want the best product just for art to give to the world for everybody, a timeless piece, you need to let all of like the human emotion out and do it just for the art.
Yeah.
And that's what I like. That's so that like leads me to think, or that leads me to propel to want, like that's what has led for me to propel to wanting to create my own shit.
Yeah. I think too I agree with you, and I think one of the hardest things like I've had to learn from an acting standpoint is that it's like a business, and that part can be really frustrating because it isn't something that you can do on your own. Like you have to have other people, whereas music isn't so much something that you can necessarily do completely on your own. I still feel like there's help, but like you can to an extent go and create your stuff on your own and get it out there, versus acting is very much dependent on other people saying yay or nay. And also it doesn't depend on talent all the time. There are so many little things that can keep you from getting a role that it can be very frustrating, and talent might get you in the door, but it doesn't always seal the deal.
Well, yeah. And I think, well, that's why the strike that's going on right now, um I'm all for it
Yeah.
because that shit needs to get resolved.
Yeah.
It needs to be fair because how things are going right now, like I don't see it as sustainable.
I don't either.
It's like monopoly. It's like all like I would say an oligopoly to where there's only like a few people at the top or companies at the top. I feel like we need to distribute you know, the power of just like having four to like having like a bunch or a lot
Yeah.
more.
Share, definitely like kind of share the wealth. And I think also I have this mindset that there's enough room at the table. Like some people have a very lack mindset, and I have always like erred on the side of there's enough. I wouldn't say always. I would say at times like I went through my stuff with that, but I definitely think like there is enough room at the table for people to show up and be performers. And you know I don't know, and you don't have to be you know A-list actor to have success and enjoy this work. Okay, so I know I'm curious about this. I feel like mental health is a very like challenging thing, especially for artists. We use our art to, at least I do, I'll speak for myself, to help like cope with a lot of things in life. but I also am curious about, for me, I found when art started becoming something I was pursuing as a career, I had to be careful about how I use my art to help me cope with my mental health. Have you found like that you're still able to use your art to help you cope with your mental health, or have you started trying to like find other avenues of dealing with that?
I would start with creating. So I used to only, all right, so going to the music thing, back to the music thing. When I created music back then, I would use it to vent. So like I would always have to be like in a negative space to write.
Okay.
So and then so like it really, when I started like digging deep into my psyche, I was like dude, it's like a double-edged sword for me. Okay? My thoughts are gonna be all over the fucking place. So I don't
No,
know.
you're fine. Go for it.
I don't.
No, we're here to listen to you, so go for it.
So like I use it as therapy because I was going through. When I write, I feel just a heavy emotion of just negativity
Mm-hmm.
that I need to just like purge. But like in doing so, sometimes I feel like you can just live in that as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to just like vomiting it and cleaning it up. You're like sleeping on your vomit.
Mm-hmm.
So then that's like where to me it, being like in a mental state where it's not like a low vibration, and it's like easy for me to stay in there. So sometimes in my psyche I'm like, damn, like I can only make good shit when I'm like in a low vibration. So now I'm like sacrificing like being in a low vibration to make good art.
Mm-hmm.
So then I like start walking around with a cloud over me internally. Obviously no one knows. Like I'm like
Right, of
super,
course.
like I'm good at hiding shit.
Yeah, apparent competence. We look like we're good, and I think a lot of artists struggle with that because, I mean, if you really think about music or even acting, even like comedy, a lot of comedy is around jokes at somebody else's expense, or at your own expense, at your own self-deprecation. So, and music, I mean, most music is like, I'm going through a breakup and dealing with that, and I haven't been listening to music because I'm like, every song is about like love or heartbreak, or I'm like just listening to like instrumentals and jazz. I'm like, like, is there anything that doesn't talk about love, which that's not like that's important, but I think a lot of music comes from a place of pain and also trying to deal with the pain that comes along with the human experience. I think all art is that to an extent. It's an outlet, but when you start kind of like figuring out that shift of how do I make good art but still keep myself in a healthy place mentally, because, and I'm not saying I have that question solved, but like, that is ultimately the goal, because there's so much joy in creating the art that you create.
That's
there
true.
wasn't there
And it's
wasn't a
also
question in there, but expound on it
it's
if
also
you
like it's like that's a great way to look at it because like looking at it that way, I think makes it sustainable. Because if
Mhm.
you're only able to create art when you feel a certain type of way, like
Mhm.
what about when that feeling goes away? Like how are you going to continue making art?
Mhm.
Do you know what I'm saying? And then that's like going back to the human experience. Now you're not tapping into all of who you are. It's only this side of who you are. It's opposed to like here, here, here,
Right.
here.
I also feel like I've started seeing, like, along that line, artists start making music around like positive experiences more. Like, I feel like I'm seeing that more, which I like, because it's like, okay, I don't always have to talk about like how much I'm struggling. And also, it's like, okay, can I sit down and write about music when when things are good, when I'm having positive life experiences, you know, because it's not always rainy. And I definitely agree with you that that mindset is such a trap, and I definitely fall into it of I need to step into this negative space to make good art.
Like, as far as like my like the acting,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I enjoy, for some weird reason, roles, because I just started getting into like film and theatrical acting.
Mm-hmm.
I've been
Yeah.
like commercials, right? I don't know if I mentioned that to you, but like starting in commercials, and now I'm like starting to get into film and theatrical. And like the roles that I really enjoy are the villain roles.
Yeah, for sure.
I love it.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's
It
like
makes
therapy.
sense.
It's like therapy because I'm walking around like I'm all like I'm like happy. So then like when I have an opportunity to just like act as a villain, it just feels therapeutic. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I agree with you. I like doing stuff too, like that. I love playing stuff very opposite of me, and I think it's because you get to play your shadow self. Like you get the things that you walk around in society and you're like, I'm a nice person, like I'm not going to do that, I'm going to be respectful to people. You get to completely let go and do all those things.
Right.
And you're like, I get to not care and be an asshole. And, you know, it doesn't even have to be an extreme villain. It can just be someone that gets to be a bitch. Like, I'm like, I get to be a bitch. I'm never a bitch. You know? Like, so I think I absolutely agree. It's so fun. And I had an acting teacher one time that was like, you know, a healthy person doesn't want to be a murderer, but it sure as shit is fun to play somebody that's a murderer.
It's true.
Yeah. It
Now,
doesn't make us crazy. It's just like you, like, that's the fun part of acting. Like, you get to, like, give into all the things that are like, I can't do that.
just a little crazy. Just a little crazy.
A little bit. I mean, I think all, like, actors, artists, any performing artists, I'm like, there's a little bit of, you know, insanity to want to get up in front of people and just be like, I think Viola Davis said, just, like, unzip your skin and, like, show your, you know, the vulnerability of you to the world. What are you brought up low vibes, but I'm curious, like, what are some things you do to get your self back to that high vibrational energy?
First things first, I like working out.
Mm-hmm.
I like going to the gym, or moving. It doesn't have to be at the gym. Moving outside and getting my blood flow, getting oxygen to my brain.
Mm-hmm.
When there's more oxygen anywhere in your body, you heal.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
So, I would say going to the gym, eating healthy, and drinking water. That is
Mm-hmm.
like so underrated.
Yeah. I know that those are, like, such basic things, but, like, no, I'm not, I completely agree with you. Not judging at all. I'm like, they are so, look at you. He's getting his water right now.
I like to show that it's water, but in here it's like a special.
It's actually vodka. No, I'm just
It might be. It might be.
I'm gonna drink my water too. Are we taking a water break? Everybody's drinking water. Drink your water. Everybody take a water break. No, I agree. Like, so I think I've always been like with movement, just like I have to do like the most extreme thing. And maybe it's me maturing in my late 20s. I don't know. But now I'm like, just walking. Like, I love weight training. I like doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. But I'm like, dude, just going on a good walk. Like, the way that changes me mentally is just mind-blowing. And then there's so many studies. I feel like, you know, with diet culture and stuff, this is so off topic, but I'm enjoying talking to you, so I'm going for it. But I feel like with diet culture and stuff, we have been fed this thing of exercise and food for losing weight or looking a certain way, which is fine, but that's not the main point of it. That's like the secondary. That's like the after effect. Like, you know, that's like the secondary thing from it. Like, at the root of it, they've talked about so much how food is just connected to mental health now. There's so many studies around food and what we're eating and mental health, and then movement. Like, we are a society, I mean, even a lot of parts of the world, like, there's just not enough movement anymore. So I love it. I love that it was basic because there are three things that are just so simple but make really big differences.
Yeah. Yes. And I would say another thing which I'm like I don't do, but when I have consistently done it, meditating, dude, even bruh, even if it's just 2 to 5 minutes, the thing that those 2 to 5 minutes does for the rest of your 23 hours and 55 minutes of your day
Mm-hmm.
is incredible. And
Yeah.
it's very, I mean, if you like say that out loud, meditate for 2 to 5 minutes, 23 hours of your day is going to be different on like
Mm-hmm.
a better, on a positive note.
Yeah.
Doesn't, it's so easy that people don't do it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is, I think what I talked to you earlier about, we very much live in this like idea that we have to do so much, but consistency and little bits of consistency, they just have such lasting impacts. And I am just now starting to like piece that together for myself because I've always been the person that's like, I need to do so much, or I'll do 4 hours on Sunday. And when you like think about it, it's like, I'm not going to sit down and meditate for 4 hours. Now what type of meditation do you like? Do you like guided, mantra, breathwork meditation? Like what's your,
Breath work,
yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
So I started off with guided,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I but one of my friends kind of introduced breath work to me,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean it's to each their own, to each his own, but
Mm-hmm.
the breath work for me, it opens chakras
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
flow like in spaces where energy is kept.
Yeah. I recently started segueing from guided to breath work, doing more breath work and doing more like meditating on my own, like not even putting music on. I've been doing a lot of meditating like just in nature and using like kind of nature as my guide. But that's funny you mentioned chakras because I've been doing like some guided meditation to like kind of open chakras and stuff like that. And I've been like getting into that. I know some people be thinking that we're hippies, but
What got you? Let me ask you a question. What got you? What kind of propelled you to explore that?
so it's things that I've been curious about for sure. And then my ex, she is very much involved in spirituality and stuff. And um, it just kind of, there were things I got curious about. And I think a lot for me, I was trying to, wow, you flipped the interview. I just realized that. I for me was like trying to put on how spirituality worked for her. And I realized, okay, I need to figure this out for myself. Like I have to figure out how this looks for me. And then my faith in God is really important to me. So kind of figuring out how my faith and my spirituality and all that kind of ties together. And I do believe in energies and high vibrations and low vibrations and very much new to like all of that. I've been meditating off and on, like doing guided meditations for a few years now.
Wow.
But I think it's not like I want to know more and I want to know genuinely how to feel secure and rooted in myself. So, whoo, let's flip it back to you.
Yeah.
Spotlight.
Here we go.
What about you? Like, how is? I love this. I love that we've completely segued away, or like I don't even know if segue's the right way, but like not even like artist conversation. But that's great because that's the point of this. I just want to open up the floor and talk to people. What about you? How did like kind of spirituality and getting into chakras and meditation, like how did that start coming about for you?
So I was just always, I'm always devil's advocate in every conversation. I feel like just because I like I like listening to different perspectives and
Mm-hmm.
like throwing different perspectives out there just to like kind of, put add some different color to the water.
I feel like you just drop a bomb and you're like,
Yeah.
I actually hate chakras and meditation, and I'm like, cool,
No, I'm just like I've always, okay, answer your question. I've always been curious. Like I'm just like
Mm,
a curious human being.
yeah.
I'm so, and I know from like when I was younger, like I've always just been gifted with
Mm-hmm.
intuition and just frequencies. I don't know. I grew up Catholic.
Yeah. No, I absolutely think that there are people who tune into that more than other people. And I think people can learn to tune into that. I don't think it's, but I think people have natural gifts. And I think that's definitely a gift that some people have, that they just pick up on that stuff easier. And I also think like different like childhood experiences and stuff like that can make you more aware of reading people and being very intuitive about people, and then that starts transitioning into like energies and stuff like that. Does that make sense?
Mm. No, it definitely does. It definitely makes sense because I know, um, I think between 7 to 8 years old, your third eye starts closing. That's
Interesting.
like in order. That's because so when you're younger, like a lot of other dimensions, like you're very sensitive and susceptible to other
Mm-hmm.
dimensions of the world. So that's where you see like kids talking to like ghosts. Let me just give you an
Mm.
example, right?
Yeah.
Or like they start talking about things that like they're too young to even know about, like that this happened.
Right. You're like, what
And
are you
then,
talking about?
yeah, and they just know. So when you start getting older, that third eye closes because in that realm, there's a lot of good and bad energies.
Mm-hmm.
So that third eye closes in order to protect the individual.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
like, you saying how your individual's experiences shape, um, I guess, the gift, or depending on what they
Mm-hmm.
live through.
Yeah.
Definitely believe that.
Yeah, for sure.
Believe that.
I think too, like kids, like from like nannying and stuff, I'm just like, people, adults so underestimate children. I like, kids are just, they're little sponges, but they're also little teachers. Okay, bringing it back to like acting, performing, or whatever. I
Yeah,
know we went all around the bush, but I still loved it. It was great.
you're fun to talk.
Um, I appreciate it. Back at you. Um, how do you feel like you stand out in the industry? Do you feel like you stand out? Do you feel like you blend in?
In regards to my talent, or in regards to or regards to me?
Both.
I think I stand out as myself more, to be
Mm-hmm.
honest with you. I don't think I don't think people are like me.
Yeah, nobody is. Nobody will do anything the way that you do it. So whether that's acting, whether it's the same role and they have three people that look the same, nobody's going to perform it. If they're doing it genuinely through their lens, their perspective, their prep work. If you're trying to do that thing where you're like, I'm trying to give the casting director or the director what I think they want, then yeah, y'all might have similar performances. But if you really show up and do it through your lens and through your experiences, nobody's going to do it like you.
Mm, that's
Yeah.
powerful.
I would
That's
say, and the same thing with music. I think when you're trying to be somebody else, then yeah, you can be like, okay, yeah, you know, things come across similar. But when you're really using your voice, like Andres or Liz, like everybody's got a story.
There's no competition, just you.
Yeah, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just love what you said.
You know, no, for sure. I think in the entertainment industry, I think people are like not curious. Like what you're doing is not like I don't think it's normal because I feel like you're coming from like a genuine standpoint, not to get
Mm-hmm.
like clout. Like I think you would do this like how you're doing it right now. Like you
Mm-hmm.
don't like, you do it because you enjoy it. You like
Mm-hmm.
enjoy talking to people. You enjoy getting different perspectives and listening to people and but curiously, genuinely listening to people, not just like saying like asking questions and then just like
Yeah,
tuning out.
yeah.
I think a lot of people in the entertainment industry, they're not curious. I think it's all me, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to trying to connect with people
Mm-hmm.
on like a deeper level. And I blame social media for that.
Yeah, social media is definitely, yeah, it's, I notice I'll take breaks from socials and I'll notice a dramatic increase in my mental health, I swear. But I will say, it took me a while to get here, and it's something that is genuinely happening recently, I would say, for me. Probably like the reason I didn't start this podcast sooner is because I had that approach that I was like, okay, how can I grow it? I want, like, of course I want people to listen to it. Of course I want, but I really, as I've entered into like arts, podcasts, acting, music, my mindset very much was about myself. And people don't care. People don't care who you are. You know, people don't care who I am. They don't care. They want to know how like this will add value to their life. But when I've really started trying to shift my art to it's not about me. And I have always said I want to help people. And I'm like, how can my art help people? And if it only reaches one person and it helps them, then it's worth it. And genuinely getting that in my heart and soul. And that is something I'm still working on. And I still have my ego where I'm like, yeah, I hope this blows up. I hope that people be listening to this. I hope my podcast pays my bills. You know, like that's still there. But also having the gratitude and like, I get to sit down and talk to you today, and I genuinely want to sit down and talk to you today. You know?
I feel that.
Yeah. Good. I hope you do. I really hope everybody who sits down and talks to me feels like I'm not just like, okay, let's do this. Like, I'm like, I genuinely want to sit down and talk to these people and whoever I'm talking to.
Well, yeah, the like, obviously, like everything, it's like making money, right? Like you want to make money for your family. You want to make money to help other people. You want to make money to travel and have entertaining life.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like working out, like you said. It's like there's like the byproduct of eating right, having your mental is you look great also, like physically.
Right.
But you're like, that's not like at the forefront, even though it's still there though. It might be
For
like
sure.
priority 2 or 3, but it's not like 1, but it's still a priority, right?
Yeah. I mean, we all got bills, and I would like some financial freedom in my life. So I'm not going to say that I don't want to make some money, you know? Like, I've always thought, like, money shows what is really at the root of you. So the more of it you have, whatever is at the root of you, like whoever you truly are, is going to come through. So if you're a very egotistical person who doesn't care about people, selfish, the more money you have, the more power you have, that's going to come through more. But you also see people with a lot of money who are very compassionate and very giving and very helpful. And I think it's going to take whatever is at the root of you, and the more money you have, the more that magnifying glass is going to expand.
100. You know, unpopular opinion, I think majority of people that do have a lot of money are compassionate people. I think we get like in the media and like we look at someone that's like successful and we portray them to be the complete opposite of what the majority are.
Well, yeah, and we also see that on social media. It's really easy when, even if you don't comment or anything like that, that's like that envy, that ego, that jealousy. It's really easy to see somebody on social media who's doing well, and your immediate thought in your head isn't, hell yeah, like, look good for them. It's like, damn, I want what they have, you know, or they're probably this, or you immediately have some type of negative thought about that. That's something else I've been trying to work on, is like having like that, hell yeah, good for you, my turn's coming, mindset, instead of, that's not easy, but I would definitely agree with you that like social media really, and media alone, we love focusing on the negative. That's what media wants to focus on. There's just as many feel good and positive stories out there as there are negative, but we only ever see the negative. What would be, okay, I'm curious, I have 2 questions, kind of closing, but I love this. I love what we talked about. I love how like it went all over the place, and it's so fun, and I think there's so much useful stuff in here. But with acting and music, what would be like your dream role? Like, I know you said the villain thing. Is that like right now, like be playing like a serial killer? Would that be like your thing? Or is it something else?
I would love have you seen the movie Taken?
Yeah.
I would love to be the villain in Taken.
Yeah.
I don't
For some
know.
reason, I knew you weren't gonna say Liam Neeson's character.
No. like like there's something about like the grunge and like the it's like such a strong like the content is so strong and
Mhm.
grunge and gritty and taboo if you
Yeah.
really look at it, if you really think about it. So being being the bad guy in there just seems like a very interesting role to take, and it's attractive to me to be that role. I
You
don't
know what's no, I honestly find what I've found because I've been acting for about geez, I wanted to say 5 years, but I think it's been like 6. What I've found, people who are like very genuine, very kind, very compassionate, like that's really who they are. I feel like they do the best at playing like these really grungy villain, just like heinous kind of characters. Um, yeah, I don't know entirely like what that is, but it's very bizarre. Like sometimes, like the nicest people I have met is like you call action. You're like, woo! I mean, even you're like so sweet on set, we're vibing, and then all of a sudden they're like action. You're like, I mean, but I guess that's just being an actor too. Like I jumped into being a victim real quick, but you know,
yeah.
like you like went for it, like which I loved the energy. Went straight into murdering me and Haley, like. So you didn't kill us, guys. Don't worry.
No.
It was a different character. We survived. Um, but no, that's so fun. I love that. I could see it too. What about music? Like, kind of, what are your goals? What's upcoming with that?
Yeah, dude. So with music, I teamed up with one of my best friends that he went to school, he went to college with me. So I went to Georgia State, I got my degree, and then I went to SAE, school for audio engineering.
Oh, okay, cool.
So a friend that I made at the university, I teamed up with him, and we've been working on music for the past 2 or 3 months.
Fun.
And man, he's just been coming over, and we just been putting in work. So yeah, he came over. He's been coming over for the last 2 to 3 months. We've been like working on 2 projects. I'm very freaking excited about. It's a hint of like the Atlanta trap that comes with Atlanta, and then a mixture of like my sound, which is very. I would like to say it's like Drake in Spanish.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. So
That's super exciting.
so we have like the Atlanta, like the Atlanta hip hop trap, and then we have the Hispanic me, and we just kind of mesh our sounds together. So I don't think there's really anything like it out
That's
in the
super fun.
market. So it's very fun, and we mesh very well together. He's shout out to K Dub. He's really talented individual. So I'm blessed that God put him in front of me.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like actors are at least getting to work on some other artistic pursuits right now. Because I feel like I've talked to a few people who it's like, I'm doing this, and they're really working on other avenues and areas right now, which is hard because we all still like acting and like we want to get back to that, but I also think it's exciting in a way that we have these other things that we're getting to work on.
Right. And also like something that's like super cool about working with K-Dub is that it's a African American dude and I'm a Hispanic dude. So like kind of merging the two cultures together,
I like
there's like
that.
so much division in the world. And
Yeah.
I see it as an opportunity to bring multiple cultures together and you know
Yeah.
start the transition on being together again, the together. So it's like something I am really striving to get done
Super
and bring
cool.
people together with different cultures.
Yeah. I definitely think that's a great goal because I think people think there is division in the world, but I think we see a lot more of that versus people who are trying to close that division, like you and K-Dub, right?
Yeah.
That's his name. Are y'all playing out at all, or do you have a date, like when this will be coming out, like where people can see it at? I can link it, maybe.
I haven't set the date. It's gonna be before 2023 ends. There's gonna be a lot of content. We have a shit ton of content. But I'm the type of person that I want to do it right. So like I
Yeah.
want a fucking long ass catalog, so I'm not working behind. So so it's like we're to the point where 2024 is already finished. Like that's how much that's how many
Jeez.
songs we've already like done. We're working. We're like on the DL. Like we're
Yeah.
working like in silent type of shit.
Okay, I got
Like
you.
we like working like almost.
Well, Frank Ocean, do you listen to him?
I love Frank Ocean.
Okay, he's got a quote. I actually have it like on my vision board, and it's like, "Work hard in silence. Let success be your noise." So I love like what you said, that y'all are like working on the DL.
That's cool. That's really cool. Might have to get that quote tatted on me, man.
Next time I see you, just Frank Ocean. No, that's super exciting. I'm really happy for you. I will tag all of Andres' stuff on my Instagram, IamMePod21, when I post this and let this out. So if y'all are interested in his music or anything like that, or we can't really promote upcoming film projects right now because of the strike, but if you want to follow this guy, see what he's up to, then I will absolutely post that. Thank you, Andres, so much today. I had like such a fun time talking to you.
Likewise, Liz. Thank you for having me.
I always cut you off.
No, it's good. It's good. I'm just saying you're amazing. Appreciate
Thank you. Is there anything you want to share in closing?
Yeah. Just be yourself, trust yourself. Be close to God and keep moving, because God, he can't drive a car and park, but he can help steer it and drive.
Oh, dang. Okay, that was good. That's a quote. Somebody's gonna get that tatted on them. All right, thank you everybody for listening. I hope people got something out of this. If you could rate and review the podcast or follow the Instagram, it just helps me do what I'm doing. And thank you so much, Andres. I had a great time talking to you.
Thank you for having me again.